Welcome, and thank you for joining us on the Digits Dynasty podcast, where we are counting down the greatest athletes to wear each and every uniform number, regardless of the sport, regardless of the league. Today, we are looking at the number 57. I'm here with Curtis, who is responsible for the incident on 57th Street.
Well, I'm not sure I am. I don't know if you know about that song. Hello, by the way. But I believe it's about a male gigolo, and I have never had that as a profession.
I said what I said. Although I do think the song predates you, though, so...
Yeah, it's about a Latin American couple in New York. You'd have to ask my wife. She's a big Bruce Springsteen fan. It is a great song, but no, I am not responsible. But thank you for accusing me. Not the first time I've been falsely accused of anything in my lifetime.
Agree to disagree. So how you doing today?
I'm doing good.
57. I feel like not a couple sports I feel like we're going to gloss right over, but we definitely got some football athletes, some baseball athletes. There's a couple guys I think that have some potential to be the best of the best for number 57.
There's definitely some heavy hitters here. I mean, it's a short list, but definitely some heavy hitters. I don't have really anybody that played basketball, and I've only got a couple sports here where I was able to dig up some guys that I had heard of. Like I said, a couple heavy hitters, but a lot of people I'd never heard of. And listen, if I haven't heard of them, you haven't heard of them. Because
That's true.
I'm a wealth of knowledge.
We'll also have a little chance to talk some food, which I know you like talking food, a little condiment action.
Listen, Heinz 57, if we're going to get into it.
We'll start right away. I'm good.
I mean, it's not one that I've always, it's not one of my go-tos. I got to respect it. It's been around for a long time. I've got to respect it.
Yeah, so Heinz 57, brand of sauce, most well-known for their tomato sauce, most well-known for their ketchup.
It's tomato sauce. You can call it tomato
sauce. And Henry Heinz, he introduced the marketing slogan 57 pickle varieties in 1896. And he said he was inspired by an advertisement he saw while riding an elevated train in New York City for a shoe store boasting 21 styles. And he's like, oh, I like that. The reason for 57 is actually unclear. I don't believe there's actually 57 pickle varieties. He chose 5 because that was his lucky number. And he chose 7 because that was his wife's lucky number. And put those together and you got a pretty good tomato sauce for 57 varieties.
Yeah, so I mean, 57 varieties, I always thought that was pretty factual, but it turns out it wasn't even close to being factual. They did have over 60 varieties of pickles, which... I mean, I don't know after 10 how many different styles of pickles you need. I don't know if that counts like thin sliced, thick sliced, spear, whole, or if it's just
Dill,
flavors,
bread and butter. Yeah,
I can't imagine you'd have 60 different flavors of pickles in 1896.
That's even today. I feel like there's how many varieties of pickles can there be?
I agree, but I mean, now you have all sorts of different pickled vegetables and everything's pickled now.
That is true.
The pickle trend is blowing up, but spicy pickles and sweet pickles and all sorts of good pickles. What's your favorite kind of pickle? Are you a pickle guy?
Not really. But I think bread and butter pickles is going to be my go-to. But if you offer me a pickle, that's I'm not gonna seek out pickles. I know there's some people who really, really like pickles.
Listen, I know it's 5 minutes into the episode, but we got to go back to my wife. She is crazy about pickles.
Yeah. I want to say so weird, but I feel like she's going to listen to this and and think I think she's weird.
I don't know if she listens or not, but...
All right, that's so weird then.
I'm kidding. She does listen. And, shout out to her for her love of Bruce Springsteen and of pickles. 2 of the reasons I love her. 2 of the reasons I chose her. But my favorite pickle is probably there's this horseradish bread and butter pickle. It's just killer. It's killer. You got to try it.
The first product to be promoted under the 57 variety slogan was prepared horseradish.
Segue.
There's a bunch of urban legends, I guess, that are kind of associated with Heinz 57 because of the relatively high viscosity of ketchup. Sometimes pouring it out of a glass bottle can be a little difficult. So, fun fact for you, if you repeatedly hit the 57 mark on a glass of Heinz ketchup bottle, the ketchup will pour out more quickly and easily. This is actually an intentional design with Heinz placed that 57 mark on the particular spot of the bottle as a target for consumers to hit. According to the Heinz website, only 11% of people know this trick. After today, it'd be 12%.
I'm in the 11%. I actually did know that.
I feel like I had always heard it, and I don't think I'm a big ketchup guy, but I feel like I've heard it, and I always thought it was just like an urban legend that it's like, oh yeah, hit the 57. It'll come out super fast.
Yeah, I mean, most of my ketchup is in the upside down squeeze bottle nowadays, for my daughter, but I have been to some diners or like old school restaurants that still go with the glass bottle on the table. And it's cool. But I did know that if you hit it there on the 57, that you will get it out. Now, like when they're testing the viscosity of the ketchup, they have this little tool that, has to stay within the markers as it's kind of going down to make sure the viscosity of the ketchup is at its exact level.
Interesting.
I don't know where I saw that. Maybe like one of those shows, How It's Made or whatever. Unwrapped
with Mark Summers.
Double Dare. Wasn't he Double Dare guy?
He's Double Dare.
Oh, I love that show. How do you like your steak? Do you put sauce on your steak, like steak sauce, or?
I think it depends. I think I'd prefer not to. I'm not a good steak cooker though, so I feel like sometimes you have to kind of fix it with some sauce.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm going somewhere where the person knows how to cook steak, I'll probably try to eat it as natural as possible.
Okay. We had a lot of A1 growing up in our house. I know we're not on number one, but A1 was always on the table when we had steak. Now that I'm older, I'm like you, all natural. Just season the steak, and I'm gonna eat it just like that. I don't really want any sauce.
A couple little things that the 57 Heinz variety has made it beyond food. In bingo, if you were playing bingo, a commonly used call for 57 is Heinz variety. If you're playing draw poker, Heinz 57 is a variant where 5s and 7s are wild cards. A mongrel dog with more than 2 distinct breeds in its bloodline may be referred to as a Heinz 57. So Heinz Field is where the Pittsburgh Steelers play. And when Heinz purchased the naming rights of Heinz Field in 2001, they signed a deal to pay the Pittsburgh Steelers $57 million until 2021.
Do you think that's gone up since?
I hope they signed a long-term deal.
Well, it was till 2021.
Yeah, I guess that happened already.
It did.
I didn't do my research there.
And I love did you see about the hockey player?
Thomas Heinz.
Steve Heinz. He requested to wear number 57 when he was drafted by the Bruins. But the Bruins general manager, Harry Sinden, denied his request, stating that only Ray Bork, who wore number 77, could wear an unorthodox number.
Come on.
I know. He could have had Heinz 57.
I know. Imagine the
jersey.
All the marketing stuff you can do for that. The Bruins could have made out.
I know. Even though he spelled it, he had an E at the end, which is a little different, but he did end up going to the Columbus Blue Jackets, where he was finally granted the number 57, and he wore it for the remainder of his career.
Trying to think of any other numbers like that, where if you had a really cool name, like if your last name was Root and you wanted to be like 66, you'd be like, hey, I'm Root 66. But how are the Bruins saying no to that? It seems crazy. Like what an opportunity.
I mean, and I would have thought that Pittsburgh, the Penguins would have just drafted him, given him the number. I mean, that's easy jersey sales right there. But I always thought it was cool that Heinz Ward, even though it's spelled different too, Heinz Field, Heinz Ward.
Oh, that's true.
Kind of played for the Steelers for a while.
Icon in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of the Swift Current 57s?
I have not.
Formerly known as the Swift Current Indians, they're a baseball team based in Swift Current, Saskatchewan in Canada. The team is a member of the Western Canadian Baseball League, a collegiate summer league operating in the Prairie Provinces of Canada. In 2017, they rebranded themselves as the 57s, and the new brand honors 57 years of Swift Current Indians baseball, although moving away from a name deemed too controversial for the 21st century. I tried to look up some alumni who played there. There are a couple guys that made it in the majors. One guy, Sean Wooten, he hit .474 with 1 home run and 3 RBIs in the in the 2002 World Series when the Angels won the World Series.
Wow, 474.
I know. That was basically all he did for his career, though. He was pretty quiet. But
Hey, I mean, showed up when it counted.
yeah, third best among all hitters in the playoffs. He hit that in the whole postseason, not just the World Series, but he was pretty integral, obviously, for getting them some wins in that postseason. Then I have the Bahrain Grand Prix, which is a race in Bahrain, and it's a 57-lap race. It's just under 200 miles long, and Lewis Hamilton has the record for 5 wins.
I had 57 coming up in quite a bit of movies. As I was doing the deep dive, 57 came up in 4 pretty popular movies. Passenger 57 with Wesley Snipes. Solid movie. And then in the movie Contagion, vaccine number 57 successfully protects the lab monkeys from infection. And then The Terminal with my boy, Tom Hanks. There are 57 members of the jazz band that Victor Navorsky carries a picture of with him.
That movie was based on a true story.
Yeah, I think
There's
so.
a guy in like the Charles de Gaulle airport in Paris that was there for like 30, 40 years or something like that.
30 or 40 years?
I believe that was the case.
No.
Let's get the stat guys on this.
Not my favorite Tom Hanks movie, but still solid. You know, he does a good accent and he's a good actor, but a little slow.
Who Tom Hanks was based off of in The Terminal, he spent...
Victor Navorsky?
Yeah, it's not his real name, though, like the actual person. He was known as, I guess, Sir Alfred Moran. His actual name was Moran Karimi Nasiri.
Nailed it.
He spent, let's do some math here, 18 years in the Charles de Gaulle Airport, Terminal 1, in the departure lounge.
18 years.
It's a long time.
But how did he like pay for food and...
Did you see the movie? He took all the carts and got 25 cents each.
Yes, I saw the movie, but like, where did he shower?
Says the meals were sometimes bought for him by strangers, and I guess he got paid for the rights about his story.
Yeah, but for 18 years he wasn't being paid.
He got $275,000 from Steven Spielberg's production company.
And then the movie Eraser, 96, the weapons trade operations took place at the Baltimore docks, Pier
57?
57. And then, I don't know if you have any friends in Colombia, but if you want to dial international, you're going to have to dial 57 for that international direct.
I think another week that we do not know anybody in the country that we were talking about.
No.
And then the atomic number of lanthanum, which is 57. Although it's classified as a rare earth element, lanthanum is the 28th most abundant element in the Earth's crust, almost 3 times as abundant as lead. Lanthanum compounds have numerous applications, including catalysts, additives in glass, carbon arc lamps for studio lights and projectors, ignition elements in lighters, torches.
First of the lanthamines.
Agreed. I think that's all I have for the numbers.
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised we even had... I was like, what's like nothing is 57.
Yeah, obviously Heinz varieties, but,
right?
But we actually had quite a bit more for such a high number. That was actually pretty good.
Solid. All right, should we dive into some of the sports, some of the guys?
Yeah, let's start with the ones that don't have a lot. In the NBA, there were only 2 guys that wore the number 57. Mike Muscala, who spent 20 games with the Celtics wearing the number 57. He averaged 5.9 points per game. He wore 57 in Boston to honor his late mother, who was born in 1957. And the other guy was Hilton Armstrong, who went to UConn and averaged 1.7 points per game in his one season wearing 57 for the Warriors. The 57 symbolizes his children's birthdays put together. And he had stayed in the NBA for a little bit, but he was part of the 2006 UConn Huskies that lost to George Mason in the Elite Eight.
Ouch.
It hurts me to even say this. This was a UConn team that had 5 guys drafted in the first and second rounds, 4 guys in the first round, and they could not beat George Mason.
That one still stings you a little bit, doesn't it?
It stings a lot, because then they would have beat the Florida Gators in the finals.
Weren't you at that game?
No.
You went to what? You've been to one game and they lost?
I went to the only game that they lost in the Final Four in 2009. That also stings. So let's move on.
Well, after you razzed me about the Boilermakers, I got to kind of give it back a little bit.
Got a couple NHL guys here. Tyler Myers, he's 6'8", 229. Played for the Sabres, Jets, and Canucks, also known as Ticey Micey, Miso, the Big Easy, Big Tex, and the Chaos Giraffe. He won the Calder Trophy for the Rookie of the Year. He has over 1,000 games played with the number 57.
I don't think I want to see him coming across the middle with the puck. 6'9", 230?
6'8", 229. You're off by one on each.
Whatever. Either way, I'm not getting up from that.
David Perron, known as French Toast, DP 57.
Great nickname. Better than Ticey Micey. I love that nickname.
He has one Stanley Cup win with the St. Louis Blues in 2019. The origin of him getting 57, fairly simple. He was given the number in training camp as a young player, and then as he made it a little bit bigger, the equipment managers were like, hey, you want to switch? And he's like, no, I'm good with 57. He said just like that. It's very nice.
What a good guy.
And the only other NHL guy I wrote down, Trevor Van Riemsdyk, who is a 2015 Stanley Cup champion with the Chicago Blackhawks, and he played over 600 games with the number 57 for the Blackhawks, Hurricanes, and Capitals. That's it. Hockey, basketball, I don't think they're going to be one of our best, but I say we move on to football.
The gridiron.
Can't wait.
A little foreshadowing there.
Oh, yeah. I'll start right with Bart Scott. He spent 11 seasons with the Jets and the Ravens wearing 57.
Can't wait.
And after one of the games, Sal Palantonio, the reporter, came up to him and said, how did that just feel? And Bart Scott is, to all the non-believers, especially you, Tom Jackson, anybody can be beat.
Because they took down the mighty Patriots.
Yeah. I said, people give us no chance. And said, we're a good football team. And Sal Palantonio was like, why are you so mad, Bart? He said, for all you non-believers, disrespect us, talk crap about the defense. Like we're the third best defense in the league. All we hear about their defense, they can't stop a nosebleed. 25th in the league. And we're the ones who get disrespected. And then Sal Palantonio was like, congratulations, see you in Pittsburgh. And then Bart sat.
Can't wait.
And I feel like there was...
Man, classic.
There was this one... I remember DJ Steve Porter was like big back in 2010, 2011. He was like this like ESPN guy and did like music remixes for SportsCenter and stuff. And he did a Can't Wait remix. And it's pretty classic. And I still, to this day, I don't think anyone knows the reference, but they'll be like, hey, we're going to have a party next Saturday and can't wait. And they'll like give me a look like, all right, why'd you say it like that? Can't stop a nosebleed.
You know how many playoff games the Jets have won since Bart Scott gave the can't wait?
Less than 57, I'm sure.
0. They haven't won a game since. They were excited to go to Pittsburgh, and they haven't been back since. So,
can't wait.
You mentioned Tom Jackson there. Tom Jackson also wore 57.
Did 3-time Pro Bowler, but obviously more well known for teaming up with Chris Berman on NFL Countdown and NFL Primetime.
And those were the glory days of ESPN.
Yeah, they won 7 sports Emmys for Outstanding Studio Show. I always liked when Berman did his 2-minute drill where he kind of recapped the whole week in 2 minutes. He kind of had that good music in the background. Mm-hmm. And then obviously Tom Jackson. And then Tom Jackson, he hosted the Jacked Up segment, which features like the top hits from the previous day's games. And
he got jacked up. I love that segment. I don't know if they were told not to do it anymore or if they just did it out of
I feel like there had
goodness of their heart, but
I feel like there had to be players in the NFL who maybe hit harder to try to get on the segment.
Yeah.
And maybe that was part of it. They're like, all right, we've had a lot of concussions this year. Maybe we should not jack people up anymore.
Yeah, because then they started doing the goofs. I don't know.
Come on, man.
Come on, man. Yeah. But Tom Jackson, he was a great, sidekick to Boomer there. They were a good team, because you can only take so much of Chris Berman, and then Tom Jackson would jump in, give you a little reprieve, and then Boomer was back to his antics. But I used to love watching that, and those two guys, and they had an hour-long show as well, and I would watch that one too.
Yeah, it was quite the duo for quite a number of years.
He was on that Denver defense known as the Orange Crush. Not quite as tough sounding as the Steel Curtain, but
But did some work.
did some work. Did some work.
Another Jets guy, probably responsible for maybe one of the biggest plays in the history of the NFL, Mo Lewis. We talked briefly when we were talking about 11 when we mentioned Drew Bledsoe. But Mo Lewis was the linebacker who tackled Bledsoe out of bounds in week 3 game in 2001, sidelining Bledsoe for about 5 games. Tom Brady came in, won about 5 in a row, led them to the playoffs, beat the greatest show on turf, and then won another 6 Super Bowls after that. 5 with the Patriots, 1 with Tampa Bay, for a total of 7. So had Bledsoe not been taken out by Mo Lewis, we probably wouldn't have seen Tom Brady for a couple years, or if ever.
Yeah, I know you love talking about Brady any chance you get, but would it be fair to say that Bledsoe got jacked up?
That would be fair to say. Although he got hurt, though. I feel like, I don't know if they'd throw those guys on the countdown who got sidelined for 5 weeks and
He's fine now, so we can say
had some internal bleeding. Yeah, he's out there sipping his wine.
Bledsoe's doing okay. I've got Clay Matthews.
Yeah.
Not the Clay Matthews that we remember, but
Part of the NFL's first family.
was that his father?
That was, the Clay Matthews who played for the Packers. That was his dad.
And his brother Bruce, who was a Hall of Famer, played in the league as well.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, this is a one of 5 3-generation families called NFL's first family. He played for the Falcons and Browns for 19 seasons. It's crazy that he hasn't really had a lot of Hall of Fame discussion here. He has over 1,500 tackles in his career, which is unofficially the 3rd most in NFL history, trailing Ray Lewis and Jesse Tuggle.
Yeah, but 16th season with the Browns, you're out there on defense quite a bit. A lot of 3 and outs.
Yeah.
A lot of opportunities to get tackles. Only made 4 Pro Bowls, though. Yeah. To be, what you said, 4th ever?
3rd
ever in tackles?
I think that alone should just get you a discussion here.
He's definitely in a discussion, but he's just not crossing that threshold. And you would think his last name would carry him
with a
little bit more weight as well, but for some reason he's not in. You know how I feel about the Hall of Fame and who votes these people in.
I know, I'm getting tired of listening to you talk about it.
So I would have to say if the players and coaches are voting him in, probably be in by now, because I think they're probably going to respect 3rd most tackles of all time more than, the writers who probably never played a snap in their life.
Yeah, Clay Matthews, part of a couple plays that are pretty iconic. Red Right 88 in 1981 when the Raiders beat the Browns. Part of the drive in 1987, and part of the fumble in 1988. The drive,
on the wrong end of a lot of those.
I know. The drive, of course, when Elway went 97 yards,
over 90,
and then the fumble when the Browns and Broncos played. He was on the losing end of all 3 of those games. But to be part of, I feel like anytime these games that have a name, like the fumble, these are pretty iconic plays that once you're a part of them, to not win is not great. Ricky Jackson, he led the Saints Dome Patrol linebacker corps while playing with the Saints. In 1997, he was inducted into the New Orleans Saints Hall of Fame and won a Super Bowl ring with the 49ers in Super Bowl 29, 1 year before retiring. And in 2010, he was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He is a 7-time Pro Bowler. Ricky Jackson.
Run, Ricky, run.
One more football guy, Dwight Stevenson. He's one of only 3 Hall of Famers who wore mostly 57 throughout their career, along with the earlier mentioned Ricky Jackson and 1963 inductee Johnny Blood McNally. McNally played pretty early on, so don't really have too many stats on him. But Stevenson was selected to 6 Pro Bowls, won the 1985 Walter Payton Man of the Year, part of the All 1980s Hall of Fame team, part of the NFL All 100 in the 100-year anniversary. And he, at one point, played 114 consecutive games as a center. over 8 seasons and had a career-ending injury with his knee, which forced him into retirement. He listed his hobby as weightlifting, and he played for Paul Bear Bryant in college, and Bryant said that he was the best center he ever coached. He was a man among children. Dwight Stevenson played for the Miami Dolphins. And yeah, that's all I have for football. We have baseball here.
I think that's about all we have left, right? I mean, we talked about basketball, we talked about hockey. We usually stick to the 4 major sports here. We don't venture off too far, but I'm ready to talk about a little baseball. We got a couple big time guys here.
Yeah,
All pitchers in my list.
I think you're right. We'll start with one that we'll be talking about again with another number. One of the greatest lefty pitchers of all time, 6'10" Randy Johnson. For his rookie year with the Expos, he wore the number 57. During batting practice in 1988, he collided headfirst with outfielder Tim Raines, prompting Tim Raines to say, "Damn, you're a big unit." And his nickname stuck as the big unit.
I did not know that.
And we will talk more about him when we hit the number 51. I know you are a Cardinals fan, but Darryl Kyle, who passed away at the age of 33 while playing for the Cardinals, he wore number 57 for the Astros, Rockies, and Cardinals for 12 years. He died at the age of 33 of coronary artery disease in Chicago, where the Cardinals were staying for a weekend series against the Cubs. He was the first active Major League player to die during the regular season since 1979, when Thurman Munson died in a plane crash. And this was just 4 days after Cardinal broadcaster and legend Jack Buck passed away from natural causes. So it was a pretty rough week for the Cardinals community out there.
You know, I remember when this happened, and instantly when you think of someone dying at, I don't know, what was he, 33? You know, your mind goes to foul play or something going on there. But yeah, he just had an enlarged heart, had a blood clot in his artery, and had a heart attack. His father actually died too at the age of 44 with the blood clot. So kind of ran in the family there. Very unfortunate. But he was a great pitcher. Threw a no-hitter, made a couple all-star teams, kind of had an up and then down and then up again career. But now, still to this day, they have DK57 there in the bullpen. And the Cardinals finally started giving the number 57 to players again recently. I know the Astros have kind of retired that number. They don't give that number out to anybody. And in 2003, the Darryl Kyle Good Guy Award was established and is presented annually to the Astros player and Cardinals player who best exemplify Kyle's traits of a good teammate, a great friend, a fine father, and a humble man. You know, the first ones selected were Jeff Bagwell and Mike Matheny. So kind of a nice way to honor him. And, you know, like I said, they put him in for the Hall of Fame. He only got 7 votes, and they took him off the ballot. So, but yeah, crazy. He died. You know, he was late to the game, and the team was kind of worried about it, and hotel staff went in and found him there in his room. So pretty sad story.
Yeah, you always think about these guys that these professional athletes are just kind of think of them as like epitomizing just physical health, and these are probably some of the guys that are in the best shape of anybody. And yeah, there's something that you really can't even control, your enlarged heart. It's sad.
It is. He was in high school. He only threw 78 miles an hour. So really didn't get looked at by too many colleges. Went to junior college, and there he grew from 6'2" to 6'5", put on 20 or 30 pounds, and suddenly he was up in the 90s, and before you knew it, was getting drafted. So pretty cool. Pretty cool story. Tragic ending to a good career, but you know, is still remembered today.
Yeah, next guy, another pitcher who has thrown a no-hitter, Johan Santana. He pitched for the Twins from 2000 to 2007, and then for the Mets from 2008 to 2012. 2-time Cy Young Award winner with the Twins. He's a 4-time All-Star and earned the pitching Triple Crown in 2006. He pitched his no-hitter against the St. Louis Cardinals in 2012.
Boo.
And that was the first no-hitter in Mets history. As a child playing Little League, he really wanted to play shortstop. And the coaches are like, nope, can't do that, son. You're a lefty. And then so he taught himself to throw right-handed so he could play shortstop. But ultimately, he found his way to the pitcher's mound and had a pretty stellar career there. I think had he pitched a little bit longer, I think he would have had some Hall of Fame consideration.
Probably. Threw a no-hitter against the Cardinals. Darryl Kyle actually threw his no-hitter against the Mets. So what do you
Well,
know? A couple trading 57 no-hitters against each other.
the other pitcher I have, Francisco Rodriguez, who wore 57 with the Angels, Brewers, Orioles, and Tigers. He did wear 75 with the Mets and when he first got to the Brewers, but he is a 2002 World Series champion, and he was a closer for both the Angels and Mets. And then when he pitched for the Brewers, he was mainly a setup role, and then finishing out his career, the Brewers and Tigers as the team's closers. In his rookie season, he tied Randy Johnson for the record for most victories in a single postseason, recording 5 wins en route to the Angels winning the World Series. A couple other pitchers later accomplished the feat. And he holds the major league record for saves in a single season with 62, set in 2008 while pitching for the Angels. He's a 3-time league leader in saves and a 6-time All-Star. He's one of only 8 major league pitchers to accumulate a total of 400 or more saves in his baseball career.
Pretty solid career, making a pretty strong case for 57 here. Being that he holds the record for most saves, one of only 8 guys with 400 or more total, and then joining Randy Johnson there with 5 wins. That's a pretty impressive resume. They call him K-Rod, as kind of a playoff of A-Rod.
Oh,
The K stands for strikeout.
I was going to say that there's no K in his name.
There's not, but he does throw a lot of strikeouts. I also call him Frankie, Francisco, Frankie, or K-Rod. Had a great career, but has also kind of had some off-the-field issues as well, which is unfortunate. He's been arrested a few times for domestic assault and all sorts of other things that we won't get too deep into, but it seems like he's had quite a bit of trouble. He actually got arrested at Citi Field and was held there, later released without bail and ordered to stay away from his girlfriend and the father. But the Mets suspended him, and then during that altercation, he hurt his thumb, which they believe he tore a ligament there in his thumb during the altercation. The Mets then suspended him even further, and that prevented him from performing any activity with the team, as well as having his pay suspended. And that kind of it's a pretty big blemish. You hate to hear about guys committing crimes. So I know we try to keep things on the field and between the lines here when we're talking about the Digits Dynasty and who goes up on the wall, but he's got a troubled past there, troubled track record.
Yeah, he's actually 6th overall for total saves in a career, behind just Mariano Rivera, Trevor Hoffman, Lee Smith, Kenley Jansen, and Craig Kimbrell. He's 437 career saves. That's pretty solid. Any other athletes that you have on your list?
Not worth mentioning that I have, at least guys I've never heard of. I mean, a lot of worn 57, but the ones that we've talked about were the standouts for me.
For sure. I think moving on, we'll kind of start debating these guys for who's the best of the 57. We're going to move on Bart Scott's speech.
Can't wait.
We're going to move on. I feel like Mo Lewis should be in contention here as a Tom Brady adjacent. He
really should have his number retired by 2 different teams, if you ask me.
I think we've talked about that. I think he should be in the Patriots Hall of Fame. But I believe that we are.
I mean, Clay Matthews, I think if we chose a football guy, Clay Matthews would be the top of the list for football, being that he's 3rd all-time in tackles. That's quite impressive. 19 years in the league, 16 for the Browns, and playing in some pretty big games. Unfortunately, lost a few of them to bad luck, but I would say Clay Matthews would be my favorite for football.
And then I think moving on, I think we're going to move on both K-Rod and Johan Santana. I think those are going to be them alongside Clay Matthews is going to be our debating, or are we just debating baseball guys here, you think?
Clay Matthews, that's a strong career. 3rd, I keep going back to that 3rd most tackles ever, but I think I'm good with the baseball guys here. The all-time record for saves in a single season is a pretty strong case, and then Johan Santana He was doing it for a long time, got a no-hitter in there. So I think I'm good to just go down to the baseball guys. It sounds like that's where you're leaning.
Yeah, I'm leaning that way as well.
All right, who do you like? Who do you like?
I think right now I'm leaning towards, I feel like we always talk, at least get the championships I mentioned there. K-Rod did win one, was pretty integral in that 2002 postseason. Like I mentioned, he won 5 wins in that postseason out of a possible, 11 wins that you can have in a single postseason. That's pretty solid.
Did he get those coming in relief?
Yeah, he was a closer then, so
games were tied.
a lot of close games, I guess. Johan Santana has no World Series championship.
Well, he played for the Mets.
And the Twins. He did win 2 Cy Youngs. That year that Rodriguez had his major league record for saves in a single season, I wonder how he fared in the Cy Young voting.
I'm not sure a closer's ever won the Cy Young.
Which, it's about best pitcher, right? It has nothing to do with being a starter, right?
Yeah, but I would say a lot of starters could probably go in and finish the game. I know it's probably easier said than done. The fact that Mariano Rivera never won one, if anybody was going to win one, it would be him.
Francisco did win 2 Rolaids Relief Man of the Year award.
Ooh.
That's how you spell relief.
What an honor.
I feel like you should get some like icy hot with that too.
Listen, I'm a big fan of Rolaids. They could probably be a sponsor of our show, with as many as I take, but kind of a funny name for an award. But
in 2008, when K-Rod had his 62 saves, he finished 3rd in Cy Young voting and 6th in MVP voting.
Wow.
He had a 2.24 ERA that year. That's pretty solid. 62 saves and 68 innings pitched. In 2002, when he was a rookie, he only played 5 games in the regular season. And then in the postseason, he gets 5 wins total. That's crazy.
Wow. I wonder what the difference was there.
Yeah, why he was a late season call up, or they really just needed somebody to close out. Any sort of any input from you?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like K-Rod makes a pretty strong case. I know he doesn't have the Cy Youngs. He does have the title. He's got the, his name in the record books there. I feel like I'm leaning towards him. I struggle with it because, after reading about some of his off the field issues, it makes it a little tougher. But I think if we're just talking about the jersey,
I was going to say, thankfully,
talking about the field,
between the lines,
I think I'm leaning towards K-Rod.
Yeah, coming into it, I was leaning more Johan Santana again with the 2 Cy Youngs, the pitching triple crown that he won in 2006. But I think after comparing both of them, I think my vote right now is with K-Rod.
So did we just make a decision? Did we just become best friends?
Did we do it? On 3. 1, 2, 3. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we're okay. Here it is. I like it. K-Rod, number 57, I guess with the Angels jersey, right? That was his. With the record, with the championship.
Record, title. I'm good with the Angels.
Boom.
I love how Randy Johnson and
we
wore 57, then now shares a record with K-Rod, like kind of that, crossing paths without actually crossing paths here.
And then, like you mentioned, the no-hitters between Santana and Darryl Kyle, like it was a very, very circular.
Yeah, and K-Rod actually set the record in 2008, the same year that Darryl Kyle pitched the no-hitter. So I mean, everything is kind of aligning here.
I think it's a good call. K-Rod, number 57, Anaheim Angels. I like that, but let's look into what we got next week. Let's spin the wheel, see what we got going on next week. $78.
Okay. 78.
I feel like my first thought, I see Leon Lett of the Cowboys in his 2 blunders. I feel like in the Super Bowl, I feel like he recovered a fumble. He's just about scoring.
It's like a blocked field goal.
And then BB with the Bills came just like blistering down the sideline, knocked it out. And then the other Leon Lett one where he like stumbles. It's like the snowy game. There's a blocked field goal and he foolishly touches it and gives, I don't even know who they're playing, but gives the other team another field goal from like 20 yards, a little chip shot, ended up winning the game. Leon Lett, number 78.
Was that, that Super Bowl blunder? Did that even matter? I mean, I know they gave him a lot of like a hard time.
They blew them out that year.
But weren't they up by like 30 points? Like,
and that's why he was, I'm sure, jogging down. He's this 300-pound guy, just trying to get a touchdown.
Well, from that same game, Bruce Smith on the other side, I think was on the field.
Yeah, one of the greatest defensive linemen of all time.
Oh, yeah. He wore 78.
Did not win a Super Bowl. Lost 4.
Man, that's tough. We'll probably get into that a little bit.
Yeah. Man, they had a good team. A lot of Hall of Famers on that team, too.
Mm-hmm.
Off the top of my head, not thinking of any hockey, basketball, baseball guys. So I think it's probably going to be an NFL-heavy episode.
78 is definitely a football number. So I would expect we're going to talk a lot of football next week.
That's not okay, bad. Yeah. I think a lot of these, 60s, 70s numbers will be almost NFL only. Probably a couple other guys that kind of sneak in there, but as far as best of, it's going to be leaning heavy towards football. Well, there we have the greatest number 57 of all time in our books, Francisco Rodriguez. Write us, let us know if you agree, disagree, if there are any players that we missed. Our email address is digitsdynastypodcast@gmail.com. Our Instagram is Digits Dynasty Podcast. Next week, we will take a look at the number 78. If there are any players that are not to be left off the list, any stories that need to be told about players who wore the number 78, the email address again is digitsdynastypodcast@gmail.com. I had been back in when Johan had his no-hitter, I had been training for a new job, and a couple of the new employees, we all went out to the bar. There was one guy who he's like, oh, I'm going to go right after work. So he went to the bar, and the rest of us showed up an hour or two later, and probably in the 5th inning in this Mets game, and our friend is hammered. He has just been drinking nonstop, and he's getting pretty good friends with the bartender, who's a Mets guy. And then I think at one point, with a couple innings to go, he's like, if there's a no-hitter, you're buying shots for the whole bar. And the bartender's like, yeah, sure. Like, it's never happened in the history of the New York Mets. And then, so we're now cheering for the Mets, which I haven't done too much in my life, but sure enough, I think I actually got 2 shots after that game. So that was a good memory for me, that no-hitter by Johan Santana. Not good enough to make it to the best of the 57 here, but
probably not a very good memory for your friend. I don't know if he remembers.
Yeah, he was very proud of us closing down the bar, and I'm like, no, I think you closed down the bar, and we walked you home.
Passenger 57.
Always bet on black.
Is that from that movie? Isn't he on a plane the whole time?
Snake's on a plane.
He gets on a plane, and he's security.
There's 57 passengers, I think, and he's the 57th.
Okay.
I think I've only seen it once. I actually have seen this one.
He gets on.
I imagine there's some sort of hijacking, I assume.
Yeah, he has to get on the plane, last minute, and then ends up saving the world from a terrorist attack. So, classic Wesley Snipes.
Always bet on black is from Passenger 57. Also my motto when I go to the casino. Thank you for listening, and please join us next week as we count down another number on the list.